Well, good day to you all. I trust you will have an enjoyable interlude in your journey of faith today. Allow me to introduce myself. The name is Madison, James Madison. And I assure you that the musical interlude that you listened to upon my entrance was not for my benefit, but for that of the document behind me. It is my personal copy of the Constitution of the United States. It is an exact copy, replica, as it were. And the document before me, the Bill of Rights. The original Bill of Rights that was proffered to the states for ratification, of which only the last 10 were ratified, not the first 2, at least immediately. The second article of amendment there is now the 27th Amendment, most recent in 1992. The year was 1772. I had recently returned from my engagement of 4 years at the College of New Jersey, which you know to be today Princeton University. And upon my return, after a few days, my father looked at me and said, "You are a ship without a rudder or a compass." Indeed, he was right. My course for the future was not determined. I had considered the clergy, as many of my colleagues have. Unfortunately, the calling was not particularly as it should be. In fact, truth be told, I believe the Holy Spirit was able on my account. And so I knew that I had to pursue another path. I thought about going into the law. Many of my colleagues had done that as well. And as I contemplated that, giving it serious consideration, I one evening at dinner announced that I had decided to go into the field of law. At which point my younger sister, 12 years of age, Nellie, headstrong like her mother, said, "Jemmy," that is what my family and my friends called me, Jemmy, "Jemmy, you're boring enough as it is. Please do not aggravate the situation by becoming a lawyer." I understand there may be a lawyer or two in this group gathered here today. I am sure you are the exception to the rule. As I was considering my forward path, word came to me of a most disturbing nature. It appears, now keep in mind, I was born and raised an Anglican. Word had come to me that the Anglican Church, members of the Anglican Church, and also understand that the Anglican faith was the official, by law, the official denomination of the colony of Virginia. The word that had come to me was that apparently members of the Anglican Church would go to church on Sunday, pray for salvation from the Holy Spirit, and then promptly after services, go find a Baptist, drag him to the nearest pond, and half drown him to death. But this was not the worst of it, for it was not just the Baptists. The Methodists, the Lutherans, the Presbyterians, all were subject to persecution, prosecution, jail, torture, fornication, even death. This was not something I or anybody should abide, but it was happening. I spoke out repeatedly for a couple of years, limited progress, but in February of 1776, Colonel George Mason, a man that I had deep respect for, Colonel George Mason tendered in Williamsburg what became known as the Virginia Declaration of Rights. As soon as I saw the draft of the Declaration of Rights, I mounted up and rode to Gunston Hall, which is where Colonel Mason lived. That was his home. Colonel Mason could be headstrong on occasion, difficult indeed. But he decided that day that he would make a change, something that I did not expect, but was deeply hopeful that he would. In fact, he had written in the Declaration of Rights that all people and their ability to practice their faith would be tolerated. Indeed, toleration. I implored the colonel. I said, "Sir, when you use the word toleration, that seems to imply concession. Concession by who? The Anglican Church, of course. But sir, the right to practice one's faith is not to be determined by man, but by God. It is an unalienable right." Colonel Mason ultimately agreed. And he changed the Declaration of Rights to read that all people shall be able to practice their faith in God according to their conscience. 17 years hence from then, I would have the opportunity to emblazon that principle into the First Amendment of the Constitution, of the Bill of Rights. Let's fast forward. I believe that's the term you use in modern technology video. Let's fast forward 200 years or so. Spoiler alert, not much has changed. Anti-Semitism is something that has been with us for decades, generations. We hear news of mass shootings in churches. This is not something that we can abide. But the answer is we have to do something within us. For in this document, religious freedom is not something that you just put on paper. It has to live in the minds and hearts of men. I wonder what would happen if we all had a better understanding of each other's faiths, denominations. I'm sure that Father Stewart may not be objectionable to members of the parish visiting once or twice, maybe 3 times, another denomination, just to see how they practice their faith. This is something that begins what I believe is the solution, and that is an ecumenical mind. That ecumenical mind should not just be the heads of churches gathering every once in a while the ecumenical mind must be within us, and it must be within our hearts that we seek to understand. Surely everybody here has somebody that they know in various denominations. What if you were to approach them and say, I'd like to join you one Sunday if I might, or Saturday, or Wednesday. You could not even be absent, for you could go up the street here to the Congregational Church or to the Methodist Church or even to the Catholic Church and be back in time for the 11:15 service and correction. But that may be the answer to the dilemma that we have before us. Proverbs 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and in all thy getting, get understanding. We fear what we do not understand. Does it not then follow that if we seek to understand, we shall not fear? And that ecumenical mind is important because religion, God, is under attack. Not just by lunatics, but by our own government. During the pandemic, they used emergency powers to attack religion. In California, a church that practiced out of a 1960s driving cars with families, 20 feet apart, not 6, with a speaker. Some of you might be old enough to remember the old drive-in theater, even if you did not remember the movie that night. They shut it down. In Brooklyn, New York, 3 temples, Jewish synagogues, were shut down, even though they abided by CDC requirements. They were shut down completely. In China, let's go to the world. In China, all religions are condemned. It matters not. Falun Gong, Falun Dafa. There are over 70 million Christians in China, and they meet in secret in people's homes, hoping they will not be discovered, or they will be taken off to education camps, which we all know what they are. Saudi Arabia, you cannot find a Christian church. They are prohibited. The ecumenical mind. I believe that it is necessary in order to solidify God's presence here on earth. For it is in danger of being lost. It is in danger of being limited by forces that may be beyond our control, but we can control our faith. Going to another person's church. I shall, for one, be visiting a Presbyterian church. For as we all know, one cannot trust those Presbyterians Godspeed to you all. Come, take a close look at your Constitution, Declaration, and Bill of Rights.